This is the Verizon iPhone 4 LCD Digitizer replacement. To get started, you want to make sure that you have your handy screw mat to your side. And without further ado, we'll get into this repair. You want to make sure that the device is powered off. The quickest way to find that out is to just push the home button, make sure the screen doesn't come on. The device is powered off, so we're ready to proceed. We have two pentalobular screws on the bottom of the dot connector. We want to just pull those out real quick. Make sure that you always apply very good pressure so you don't strip the screws or you don't strip the screwdriver tip. Remove the battery door. Comes up about 1/8 of an inch. Just go ahead and pick the top of the door up and it separates very easily. Now getting started with the screw removal, we're going to take out the screw down here that holds the battery in place. So we'll just go ahead and remove this screw real quickly. Put that over to the side. Let's see, you have a black plastic tool, phone opening tool, and just this little battery terminal just picks up to the right. Go ahead and grab the tab that is provided. A lot of times the first time that you pull the battery out, it's going to be extremely sticky, and so if it happened to this plastic tab happens to break off in the process of you pulling that battery up, you want to take a metal tool like this. We call it a spatula, and you just evenly distribute weight as you are prying that battery up. The last thing you want is to puncture a battery, causing the battery to explode. Go ahead and take this little plastic tab and stick it to the 3M over on the other side. We got two screws right here in the middle of the phone. This is covering a flex connector for the charging port and the microphone. Go ahead and take these screws out real quick. And there is a little tiny black shield that we can just basically just kind of dump it off, and this goes over on your screw mat too. There's a place for it over there. Now we'll take our black plastic pick, catch it on the lip on the side, and it just quickly releases off that connector. Now under here you have 3M adhesive tape that it can be a little tough to pull it, but only pointing that out is because you want to pull it gently down to the bottom and then peel it off to the side like so. If you first time go ahead and pick that and pull it and you carry too much momentum, you could rip the cable at the very bottom, which you definitely don't want to do. Okay, we have a screw right down here covering one of the antennas. We want to take this screw and its little tiny shield off with it. Put the screw on your screw mat and take that little shield, and there's a place for that shield as well. Just a little tiny piece. Okay, one more screw right over here on the bottom corner of that circuit board. Come down right here. Let's grab our black tool. We're going to pick this little antenna wire up carefully. These are little fragile connectors that have a cylinder shaped connector, and when you go to plug it back in, you want to make sure that you're very careful plugging that in so you don't mash or mar the connectors. Taking these two screws out on the bottom on this little black box here. This is the speaker box, and it also helps control the antenna. On this left side, there is a small little plastic black triangle that serves as a washer, and you want to make sure, see there it is, that you put that over next to that screw location on the screw mat. Got one more screw in that little box. Okay. All right. We'll go up to the top of the phone. We have a couple screws here at the top. All the visible screws that you see except for the one down in the bottom right, top right corner. This one stays, all these ones come out. So let's go ahead and start taking these screws out. This screw right here is screwing down another little antenna shield that serves to help the phone pull a little bit of signal in, but then also cover the secondary antenna here. And this little shield basically just, I'd use your little black pick tool, come up onto the side and lift it straight up out of placement. You'll see that it's got this little gold contacts that dig down into the circuit board there. So you want to make sure that you lift it straight up and out. Now we can keep that same tool and unplug this little antenna from the top. It just picks up just like that and comes out of the way. Now this black shield, EMI shield here, this shield should just easily pop up out of place. Go ahead and take that and put that on your screw mat as well. Now you have 3 special screws, and the 3 special screws are highlighted on your screw mat in big blue circles over here. What we mean by the special screws is there's a small little tiny screw on the top, and then on the bottom that's a special screw that is just a bigger screw on the bottom. You can use a your Phillips screwdriver, but we recommend you using a flathead screwdriver so you don't strip the tip of your screwdriver. So let's just go ahead and take these special screws out. You apply a lot of pressure if you're using a Phillips, and go slow. Start the screw out slow, and then it will free up and come right out. Some of these are different sizes, so you want to make sure that you keep those in the right spot on your screw mat. There we go. Take this one out here. We'll wait for that one. All right, we have 6 connectors that we need to go ahead and undo. There's one right there. This is the LCD and Digitizer cables. So those fold up. You have your camera connector right here. Go ahead and just lift that up and you can pull the camera out. That goes on the top box on your screw mat. Now you have 3 connectors on the side, 1, 2, and then a third one buried underneath one of the top ones. So we'll just catch the lip of that, start picking these up out of placement. There we go. See, and there's the third one down here. Good. Once you have the special screws out and the connectors undone, the circuit board, oh, forgot one little screw up here in the top corner. You can't see it until you take the camera out, and it has a small little gold washer that has a little shape to it. Alright, we'll just go ahead and dump that out. Put that little gold washer on your screw mat to the side. Put the screw up in that little top left corner. Now the circuit board comes right out like so. Okay, we have 10 screws that we have to remove from the phone. Before we do that, we need to take this little vibrator, this round shape here, out. I used a flat metal spatula and just come in on the corner here and just lift up. There's a lot of 3M adhesive that makes it extremely sticky to this metal plate on the middle housing. Take that over and put that on the screw mat, and we now have 3 side screws here, and then on the adjacent side you have 3 as well. These, all we're going to do is we're going to do 1 full screwdriver rotation. We're going to leave these loose and not remove them. Then there's 4 corner screws that need to be removed. We'll take the 4 corner screws out first, And I'm going to show you up here in this top left corner, you have just a little bit of like felt paper covering directly in the corner, covering up one of those screws. And so we're going to have to push down this little felt paper here so we can reveal that screw underneath. There it is. So let's go ahead and take that out real quick. Good pressure. Go slow. And the 4 corner screws go on the screw mat on the bottom right corner in a little box. Now loosen the 3 side screws. Switch. Okay, they're loose. Now we're ready to separate the LCD digitizer from the middle housing. Take your metal spatula and you want to take it right in the seam between the black plastic and the metal frame here. And I like to come in at this top right corner and just break that little seam in here, like so, okay? And we're just gonna, since this is a good LCD, we're gonna be real careful taking it out, but with a broken LCD, you can really apply more pressure on removing this from the middle housing. There's really only sticky 3M on the top and on the bottom. There's not really anything on the sides. Gently come around. There we go. So it's free, and we're just going to pull the LCD out and the 2 little cables that are attached to it, like so. Okay. Now you would probably experience a lot of broken glass that would be sticky to this 3M adhesive on the top and the bottom. If that's the case, you want to just basically just take your thumb and just rub off all the broken glass that you can feel. You want to inspect the shell right here, make sure there's no shards of glass that fell in here, because we don't want to put on a new Digitizer LCD assembly over top of a shard of glass, because it really runs the risk of cracking that screen in no time at all. So just do your due diligence, check everything, make sure everything is good. Once we're at that point, we're ready to go ahead and install the LCD Digitizer. You'll see you have a pass-through slot right here. That's for our LCD and Digitizer cable. And the Digitizer cable is that top cable. It's the real flimsy, loose one. And this is the one that runs a risk of getting caught up in between the back side of the LCD and somewhere in the inside of this housing. So I always tell everybody when we train people, set the cables, send them through that little pass-through slot, and once they're both kind of through that pass-through slot, you want to set the bottom into place. And once the bottom is in, you want to keep the fold about like this, and you'll just grab the LCD and Digitizer cable, and you just kind of slowly just guide those in, and you're gonna lower the LCD down into place. If it seems to be a little tight on a corner, on a side, you might need to just come over here and loosen these screws up just a tad more, so it gets a nice flush fit. Now before we move on, we're going to test our work, and I always push from the underneath side these cables up towards the top, and if they're level with each other, you know you did an accurate job on it, the installation. 5 times out of 10, even guys still do it that work for us. They'll get this cable stuck in there like that because they didn't watch it get bunched up on the inside of here. So make sure that you gently pull through. If the LCD is already shut and this cable is short, do not just pull that cable through. You need to open the thing back up to this position, and you need to make sure there's no bunch cable on the inside there, and then just guide it through again. So I just can't stress the importance of that. You don't want that. You run the risk of ruining the whole LCD digitizer, and that's, you know, $60 plus cost. Okay, everything's back in. Okay, for starters, we need to put the vibrator back into place, and the pictures on your screw mat, they are lined up exactly in the position that they go back in. You want to make sure that the 2 copper coils are you know, pointing straight down like so. And after that, we can go ahead and get the circuit board back in place. You want to make sure that you take these 3 cables here on the side. Make sure that those are peeled back out of the way. This portion on the top of the circuit board right here, this portion is going to fall underneath a little notch up here in the top center. And so we kind of go in on an angle, kind of like we're landing an airplane, if you will. And you'll see it just kind of scoot up underneath there. And once you get that, the board just kind of lowers gently down into place. And now we want to take our special screws, the big fat ones, and put that back in. This will help just hold the circuit board down into place. Okay, make sure your cables are still outside of the circuit board. Nice good pressure. No need to over tighten. Now we need to put the little gold washer back in place. And I'll basically just take the 2 little legs on the side. That's where I'll hold it by, and then I'll gently just kind of lower it down into place. And sometimes you can take a tool like this to kind of straighten it up, like so. Put our screw in. Okay, just like that. Get it tight. Now we can put our camera back in. You see the camera has a little tiny sidebar that comes over the top of the circuit board, and we can plug that connector back in, and then we can follow it up by plugging the LCD and digitizer cables back in. There we go. And then plug the 3 side cables in, starting with the one underneath. Okay, now we'll take our little antenna connector over here on the side, and we'll put that back up in place. These ones, this is the ones that you don't want to press hard unless you know you're right on top of it. Sometimes it might take you a little while, so just be patient with yourself and just make sure you do it right, because if you happen to mess up one of these connectors, it could mean 4 bars, signal bars on the customer's phone to 1 bar. Let's just check that cable out here real quick on the underneath side. Looks okay. There we go. Alright, after we get that antenna plugged in, we're going to take our small little black washer, and you'll see right here there is a little metal clip here, and then there's a gap that falls between the circuit board and that metal clip. That's where you want these gold teeth to go. You want them to fall directly into that little slot up here. So get those teeth planted in that little crevice, and then push that connector down over top of the antenna connector as well. Now we have that screw on that top right position that we have to put back in. Okay. Can put our black EMI shield on. You do have a small little tooth down here on the bottom of that EMI shield that has to fall in between this cable that runs alongside at the bottom of the board. So that tooth goes in between the cable and the circuit board. So just make sure you get that in there like so. Now we can put all the screws back in. These screws are so itty bitty. Nice and gently. There we go. Occasionally you'll find one of the threads on the underneath side just seems to fail, and you can't put the screw back in. So don't think it's the end of the world. Just move on without putting that one screw on. Every once in a while stuff like that happens. Okay, after we get those screws in, we can take our speaker box / antenna and we can go ahead and lower this down into place. Occasionally you'll get some of these metal little clips here that like to pop out, so you just have to kind of work those back down into place. Make sure that the box feels flush with the side rails of the housing, and put the screws in on either side of the speaker box. You remember the left side has that small little black triangle washer piece, and that just basically falls right down into this corner here. Whoop. Good. Sometimes it's probably easier having to screw out to get that little triangle set in there. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and weave our antenna back through that little channel system. And line that connector up over top of that, and gently press it in. Like so. And now we put our little antenna cap cover over top of it and then screw it down. If you need to remember which way it goes on there, just look at your screw mat at the image, and that's the placement. I didn't get that antenna plug down in there. Let's just work that a little bit more here. There. Couple screws and we'll be finished here. Oh my goodness. Probably won't have as many problems as I'm having, because your screwdriver will be more magnetized than mine. Alright, beautiful. Put the screw in over the bottom left corner. Good. Now we can cover this back up and put the flex connector back down onto its placement. Take our little black shield and put that over the connector. That holds the connector down into place. we can put the battery back into place. You want to make sure that you undo your little plastic tab here. Pull that to the side. We'll go ahead and put the battery in on the right side and then just kind of close it up. Get that connector plugged back in. Take the screw here, secure the battery with that. Put your battery door back on, and basically you start at about 1/8 of an inch high. Make sure it's flush around all the corners and just slide it down into place, and you'll finish by putting the 2 screws back in the bottom, and then you're all finished. The iPhone 4 Verizon LCD Digitizer replacement.